Hello and welcome to CommunityForce training. Today's session we will be talking about monitoring the review process and also go over creating reports and ad hoc reports, some of the reporting functionality there. So this training session will be covering training for both our scholarship and grant platforms. So if you're a scholarship user as well as a grant user, we will be doing a dual training here today. The functionality is the same process. So anything that we may have a little difference between the scholarship and grant site, we will go ahead and point out as we go through the training session today. So in today's training session, some of the items that we're going to be discussing are going to be the review committee status. So prior to this specific training, you more than likely viewed the training in regards to how to set up the review process, how to make those assignments to your committee members. So now we're going to be talking about how to review the committee members as they're reviewing the applicants, and then also how to see the scorecard PDF. So there's a PDF of the scorecard, that task card that you've assigned to your reviewers. You can get a PDF of that. And then also maybe you have some reviewers that needed some assistance in scoring. You've assigned them. They do have to be assigned online, but you have assigned them through the process, but they need help with their scores and getting their scores entered. So we'll talk about how you can actually assume their identity and become them and enter scores on their behalf. And then also there's the submittal process. If you're using that submittal process, the reviewers are going to be submitting their reviews as they complete those task cards. And so as they submit them, maybe they may have an instance when they need to have it unsubmitted so they can go in and make some adjustments. So we'll talk about how you can remove that submittal for them. And then after they've done reviewing the applicants and you're wanting to see the scores, there's a report called Review Committee Results. So we'll discuss how that's kind of a report and how you can view in that. And then also the automated scoring report. We talked about automated scoring in the last session. So then once you've set that scoring, how do you view the report? And then ad hoc reporting. Ad hoc reporting allows you to create reports on every section and every question that's in your application form. And also every question that was in your score tasks or your review tasks that you've created, as well as awarding. You'll be able to also include awarding fields in those ad hoc reports. So we'll talk about how you can build those as well today. So let's go ahead and get started by going to our scholarship site here. So here on the site, so I'm here on my scholarship site. I'm also got my grant site open here. So from the home page, we're going to start. And from the home page, you're going to select the application form that you want to review your committee process on. And then as soon as that opens up, we will be at the Manage Applications tab. And then we're going to locate down here this Review Committee Status. So review committee status allows you to monitor your reviewers as they're reviewing. So you can see where are they in the process, who have they reviewed, what are they scoring, and how far have they gotten in the process. So let's go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to go to the grant site so you can see that that's also the same. So here in the grant site, I'm selecting my application, and here you see the review committee results right here. And we're going to be looking at review committee status. Okay, so when you first open it up, you'll see there's all the tasks that you have currently open. So right now, if you remember when we talked about creating tasks and we talked about displaying on review reports. So right now, all these say yes. So then of course, when I go to the review committee status, everyone that's turned on is going to show here in the listing. Same with scholarships. If they're turned on, they're going to show here on the listing. So what this will show is going to show you the task name. So these are all the tasks that have been assigned out to reviewers. And then over here to the right, you're going to see the number of assignments that have been assigned out, how many have been incomplete, how many are completed, and then how many have actually submitted it. So they may be completed, but maybe they haven't clicked that submit button yet. So when you're ready to look at each task, it's just a matter of simply clicking on the individual task here. And what's nice is you can actually, if you want to, you can export these to Excel. And this is a nice report if you want to see by task how all the applicants were scored. You can actually get that complete score here. This is a nice report by task that will give you the total score, the completed, and then the score, and then is submitted. So this would be scoring on what they've completed so far, and then this would be the final score here. And then this would be, as you can see here, each line is an assignment. So this committee member was assigned all 6 of these applicants, and so you're going to see all 6 of those reviews here listed. So each one for each one that they've been assigned. And it's going to be that way for every reviewer and every applicant. There's going to be a separate line for each one. So of course, if this applicant was assigned multiple times to more than one person, they're going to show up here multiple times, because this is now, we're looking at it from the reviewer's perspective. So every reviewer is going to have a separate line here. And then of course, per applicant, you can see, okay, this reviewer, they don't have anything completed. This is that percentage completed. You know, if they were completed, it would say 100% complete. And then this would be the score that they gave on, and then whether it was submitted. And then this unlock documents, if I click on it, you'll see if there were any documents that would allow me to view the documents on that specific applicant. I'm going to click exit here. I'm going to go to one that actually has some scores on it. So on this one here, let's go to the score sheet. We'll see we do have one that it's 100% complete, but even though it's 100% complete, this reviewer has not clicked the submitted. Is submitted is still no. So that means that they're not totally done. But you can see here there is a score. So then when you're ready to look at that score sheet, you can just come here and click on the scorecard over here to the left. And that will show you that reviewer and the score sheet that they completed for this specific applicant. And of course, you'll see the applicant's application to the right here. If you click View Application, that will open up that PDF view of that individual's application. And then you can just close that out. And then also you can see how they've scored. And you can see right now you don't have access to make changes to any of these scores, but if you wanted to see how they scored individually, this is one way that you can do so. And then on this page, you'll also notice over here the PDF. Right now it says Admin PDF. Now when the reviewer is looking at this on their view, they will see Reviewer PDF. But since I'm on the back end as an admin, I am able to see this Admin PDF. And this is, I can get the PDF of this specific applicant. Now another thing that we can get is over here on the Reviewer Scorecard PDF. If I click it, and it'll download it here to my local computer. But once I download it, you'll see this is the actual PDF of that score sheet. So that score sheet that I was just looking at, maybe I want to capture that, I want to save it and put it in a folder for this applicant. Maybe each applicant I have a separate folder and I'm putting their application PDF, but I also want to put the score sheet for each reviewer. You can actually capture that here on that individual reviewer's score sheet. And then I can just close it here. And again, that's right here. You have to open up the score sheet and then you can get that reviewer scorecard PDF. And then we can just exit here when we're done looking at it. And that's how you can review every applicant. Now over here, if you click that, that will just take you to that same view here of that scoring information. Now if I scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll start noticing score sheet. So if I have in my general information, I've turned on show comments to other reviewers, show each other's comments, then those score sheets, if that's turned on, then when the reviewers review the applicant's application form in this format, they will see the score sheets for all the other reviewers and how all those across all the tasks and across all the reviewers, so that they can see how other reviewers entered their information on them, if that functionality is turned on. Now, of course, if it's turned off and in the general information you don't have show reviewer comments to the reviewers, then they won't see this in their sheet. And then the same for applicant. If it says show to applicant, then of course when the applicant opens this up, they'll see that as well. Okay, so I'm just going to bounce out here. And so sometimes you may have a scenario, let me just go all the way out so you can see it from the beginning, where you may have a reviewer that's trying to score and they just can't get their scores to take, and they need assistance. And of course, you saw when we just went in on that score sheet, you don't have the ability to adjust any of the scores or make any changes for them. So then how can you do that? Well, one way that you can do that is when you first come in here to the review committee status, if you notice up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll now see a select reader. And this is just for the admin. You'll see this little select reader here. And when you select that select reader, it will then show you all the reviewers that you've got active on your application. And I can come here and I can hit the switch, and I can switch to that reviewer's identity. So I'm going to go here on Amy Cooper, this one here, and that was the one that had completed their review, but they hadn't clicked submit. So let's go ahead and click that switch. So I've clicked the switch, and now you notice up here in the right-hand corner it says I'm Amy. It says doesn't show support CommunityForce anymore. It shows Amy Cooper. So I'm now logged in. I am now Amy Cooper, the reviewer, and I am on her reviewer dashboard. So I'm seeing things like she would as a reviewer. And then I would need to, this is the reviewer dashboard. This is where she would first come when she logs in. So of course, then I would need to select that application form that she's been assigned to. And then I would be able to see her reviews. So here's what she's been assigned. And this is exactly how your reviewers would see it when they go in. And then here's the one that didn't get submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one so we can go ahead and finalize that for her. And then as soon as it opens up here, you'll see I have the access that the reviewer would have. So this is just like how a reviewer would review their process. They would go in and they would see what we just saw. They would click on the task, and then they would see the applicants they've been assigned and then select the applicant. And then here's all the scores that were entered. And over here, they have a save. There's a save and exit, which would then take them back to that page where it lists the applicants. Or they could do save and next, which would take them, once they're done with this screen, they can save and go on to the next applicant and then go and review the next one as well. And then just keep hitting that at the end of each one. Or if I exit without save, if I was to do that, it would not save any of the changes, of course, that I made on this page. And then so what this one we wanted to do is we did want to go ahead and click the submit for this reviewer. So I'm going to click submit here. And now you'll notice it says is submitted yes. So then of course you could just go in on all of that reviewer's applicants and adjust all their scores for them. Remember, you're that person as long as this shows over here. So then once you're done, how do you go back to yourself? How do you switch back? You'll notice in the right-hand corner there is a switch back. And when you hit that switch back, you'll notice I'm now back to CommunityForce support. And then you'll now notice there's that review submitted. It's been submitted. Now, maybe she didn't want to submit it and she was holding on to something, or one of your reviewers calls you and says, hey, I didn't mean to submit something. I wanted to make a change and I accidentally submitted. Can you unsubmit that for me? So yes, you can. So what you would do is you would go back in on that task you would locate that reviewer that's needing you to remove the submittal. And then where it says is submitted, what you would need to do is select that review. And then where it says mark is not submitted, you would click that button. And then it would say review has been marked as not submitted. So you'd click OK. And now it's no longer submitted. So then they would need to go back in and then submit it again. So that's how you can monitor the reviewers. Nice little report. Again, this report's nice because it's per task and how every reviewer has scored that applicant per task. So that's the reviewer's score here. So that's a nice report. If you wanted to see per task how every reviewer, the total score for each reviewer, you could do so, and then you could export this to Excel. Now the next report I want to talk about is the review committee results. So now let's say your reviewers, they're all done with the review process and you're wanting to start monitoring the total scores, what the applicants were scored as. Now the review committee results, if you have multiple tasks active that you're capturing scores on, you will want to use some caution when looking at this report and looking at total scores, because based on tasks that are turned on, so when I say tasks that are turned on, remember in the reviewer task setup, we had these tasks here that were turned on, and they say display and review reports yes. So when I'm looking at scores, every single one of these that says yes, it's going to give me the total score across all 4 of these combined. And then the average score, it's going to look at all the reviews across all 4 of these, and it's going to give me an average based on total divided by number of reviewers in all 4 tasks that have completed their reviews. So if I did not want to see all of these at once in this review results, then this is where this turning this off and on comes into play. You may have wondered, well, why would I never want that? Well, here's a scenario where that would come into play. So what I would need to do is when I'm in review results, I want you to see how it changes. And I'm looking at the results. And right now, notice it says Patricia Cruz 4. Well, we know earlier we saw that was 24. So if I click on Patricia Cruz, notice it says 17% complete. And here it's showing all those tasks, every single one of those tasks. Now you don't want to come here, click on every applicant to do that. Now if you notice here, you can come up here on each individual applicant. And if I wanted to see just the score sheet tasks, then I could do that. And then it would give me the total score here. And then if I wanted to switch tasks, I could do that. But you probably don't want to do that on every single applicant. I mean, you can, of course. But maybe when you come here, maybe you just want to see that score sheet task. You don't want to see the scores for all of the other ones. You just want to see the scores on that one task. So that's when you can come over here to the reviewer task setup. And in the reviewer task setup, come in here, go to each individual task and say display and review reports, turn that off, hit save and exit, go to the next one. Turn it off, hit save and exit, skip this one because I want to see that one, and then remove these and hit save and exit. Okay, and now when I go to the review committee results, you'll see it shows here the total score of 24. Now you'll notice it does show total score 24, so then you may ask yourself why I'm looking at this, why is it still saying an average of 6? Well, the reason that is because this individual applicant, even though this is one applicant we're looking at, their score is 6 because what the system does is it picks up an average. So the total score is actually 24, but it's dividing 24 by 4 because that's how many reviewers have been assigned, and it's going to return on that review results screen the average amount there. and it's going to show, of course, 25% complete because not everyone has scored. So at this stage, more than likely, you wouldn't be looking at the score because not everyone has scored, but that's what this is giving you, is this average score here. So if you want to know the actual total score, your best bet is in the review status per task. Remember, you could see the total score for each reviewer. You can export that to Excel, and then in the Excel, you can run summations in that Excel spreadsheet to get an actual total if you don't want the average. And then, of course, when you're done looking at each one of these, you do want to make sure before you move on into the system to do any other functionality on the review process, to make sure you go back to your review task setup and make sure if you do want to, if these are still tasks that you need to see scores, you need to run reports on or anything, then you would want to make sure and turn all of these back on, which I'm going to do now. And so that's how you do the review tasks. Now I am going to go to the grant site and just kind of show you on the grant site, when you're looking at the review status, it is the same. Everything's the same that we just discussed, but I just want to help reassure you when you are in that review process, you're going to have the applicant, but you're also going to see the organization and the program if you have the program activated. So that is the only difference really with the grant site, is in the grant site you're going to see your organization and you're also going to see your program name. Same with the review committee results. You're going to have that organization and you're going to see the program name. But everything else is going to be the same as it was with the scholarship side. Now, if you were in on the training where we were talking about building tasks, if you remember, we talked about that question that was a scoring comment question. And that as the reviewers are reviewing applicants, if a question is a scoring comment question, it would show right here. So here I'm actually in the review committee results, and this is the comment here. So if I click this comment, if there was a scoring comment, here you can see here's all my reviewers, which is nice, or all the comments actually. And then right here, great cause, it's a startup program. I would be able to see for that applicant every reviewer's comment on that review that I've got turned on. And so that's how those reviewer comments can come into play. And then maybe if you have multiple reviews, you can go to the reviewer comment. What does everybody say? What's the consensus? Does everybody want to fund this program? And then you can determine that here, which is nice. So that's that scoring comment question, and that's where you would view that. And then also here in the review status, if I remember right, if we go there, open it up, and this is on the scholarship side too. It's not just the grant, it's on the scholarship side as well. Yeah, it's just in the review results side is where you can see that. Okay, which is nice. Okay, so that's it for the review results. So now let's go ahead and talk about some of the reports. So that manage automated scoring. So reports are here in the manage reports. I'm on the grant site right now, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to go to the scholarship side and go to manage reports. Okay, so here on Manage Reports, you'll notice over here in this column, you'll see Automated Scoring Report. And if I click on that, this is where you're going to be able to get that report that shows you the totals for all the automated scores that you've created on your site. And then how the applicant, the grand total over here is going to be the grand total for all the scores that that applicant was matched to. And of course, also you can see if you've created automated scores, different ones for different scholarships, this is where you could actually choose that scholarship and see the scores just for that scholarship. Otherwise, if I just leave it as all, it's going to give me the grand total for all. And then if I come over here to the left, I will have this view automated score. And if I want to see the breakdown of the total score, I can hit this view automated score. And then it will tell me why they received the score they did. And if I had multiple scores here, this one is just this is that one on the FAFSA score, or the EFC I mean score. And so this one, their answer was within a certain range, so then they got that score. And so if there was other ones out here for different questions, it would list all of those as well. And so that's that automated scoring report. And then of course, if I go back to the actual report, then that's going to be the grand total across all the scores for this applicant. So that's the automated scoring report. And then the final report we want to talk about is also on the screen. So ad hoc queries is something only if we create some type of report for you, then we would create that report, and a lot of times we would put it here in ad hoc queries. But any other usage, you would not be using that, but that's what the purpose of that is. So that's only something that we would more than likely be setting up for you and directing you there. But then ad hoc reports. So ad hoc reports allows you to run reports on every question in every section, along with every scorecard or score task, as well as award information. So once you've awarded your applicants, any award information, so the award they were given and the monetary amount they were given, you can pull that into the reports. And then in the administration tab, there's a site setting. Under site settings, under administration site settings, under the award section, under site settings in that award section, there are those award questions that you can turn on and capture additional information. If you activate any of those also can be included here in the ad hoc reports. So to create an ad hoc report, when you open up ad hoc reports, any reports you've created are going to show. So it's going to give you the name, a description, who's able to see it, the last date you updated the reporting database. And then over here, we'll talk about this, but this is how, if you have a report and you want to copy it and create another report similar to it, but maybe just make a few changes, you can do so using the copy. And then of course, when you're ready to look at the report, this is the view that you would use to view that report. So to create a report, let's go ahead and create a report. And I'm actually going to create a report to pull scores on, so you can kind of see how that how you can create a scoring report that gives you more data, so that you could export that to Excel and then be able to manipulate and do your summaries in the Excel spreadsheet. And then, so the first step, of course, when you open up ad hoc reports, is to give it a name. So we're going to do scoring. I'm just going to call this scoring report. And then this one here is a description of it, so you know what's the purpose of this report. And then the next one is the toggle that says visible to me or visible to all. So visible to all means not everyone on the site, but it just means visible to all admins on the site. So of course, reviewers wouldn't be able to see these, applicants wouldn't be able to see these, just admins. And then visible to me means you would be the only one that can access the report. No other admins on the site would be able to see it. So if it's one that you want to share with other admins and you're not the only global admin, then you can go visible to all and then share those reports with other individuals on your team. But it's based on login if it's visible to me. And then report includes. So report includes is where you're going to start telling the system, before you run your report, what areas of the site are you wanting to include in this report. So of course, application data, that's going to be the application system data, meaning the status, like statuses. So all the statuses, like submitted, pending submission, you can actually run the report so it has those statuses in it. Application data is also their application first name, their login first name, their login email, their organization name they logged in with. That's all application data. The submitted date, that's application data, you'll see. And so application data is something you always want to include because you're always going to want that application data. And now you want also the section data. So section data is going to be every question in every section of the actual application form that was built. So section data is where you would select if you want to include some questions of some kind in your report. And then scorecard information is where all those score tasks that were, or those review tasks that were created, those are scorecard information. Each one of those tasks had questions in them. And so then, of course, you can select those tasks and then you can include the questions on those tasks. And then if you wanted award information, you would select the award information as well. But this is going to be a score report, so I'm going to assume at this stage we wouldn't do award information because there's no award information available yet. And so if I was to select it now, then it would more than likely return blank results because there's no award information to include in it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save and Next. Excuse me. And now the next screen this is where we're building our columns. So it's simply just a matter of picturing an Excel spreadsheet. If you're familiar with Excel, then you will be familiar with how this is going to look when it's completed. And so what you're pretty much doing is you're going to go through all those areas. We selected application data, we selected section data, and we selected scorecard information. So it's giving you everything here that is available to pull in it. And so now we're just saying, okay, what column in that Excel spreadsheet? So if I was to choose application data, it's going to give me all the available fields for application data. So anytime I run a report, I always like to include the status. And then if you're using status details, I would include those as well. But select that. So you select it on the left, hit the directional arrow, and it moves it to the right. And if you want to select everything, you can actually do a select all and then move everything to the right. And then I'm ready. I can do my remaining columns. Maybe I want something from the general information. If this is a scorecard report, maybe I want to look at some questions that are helping to determine those scores. I want to maybe include those alongside it. Okay, so in this one, maybe, let's see, let's just grab a few. And of course, this is a scholarship site, but you grant users, this is the exact same process. You're, of course, going to have organization information here that you can pull in. But right now, remember, this is the first name, middle name, last name from the actual application form that they completed. So the application data that we pulled in, that's going to actually give you in the report the organization name, the individual that applied for them. For scholarship users, it's going to have that applicant first name, applicant last name from their user profile. That's going to automatically be in there because that's part of that application data. So I usually don't pull this in unless I maybe want to compare the organization that they applied with in comparison to the organization, if I'm looking at organizations on the grant site, to the organization that they actually entered in their application form, and the same with the scholarship site. Maybe I want to see, are they the person that's they're actually filing, or are they filing for somebody else and logging in with a different user profile? Okay, so it's just a matter, I'm just coming here, maybe I want their email, then when I'm done with that section, I can maybe go to another section. Maybe I want to see their essays. So maybe I can select a couple of the essays here and move those in. I'm just grabbing some stuff just for illustration purposes. So that's the sections of the application. So right now, each one of these is going to create a separate column in my spreadsheet. So that's how it's going to be. Now, let's say I want to have in my spreadsheet, when it dumps it into my spreadsheet, I maybe want to have the last name first. So maybe I can select last name and then I can move it move the column location by hitting the up arrow here and just selecting it each time. You can only do one at a time until it's moved that individual to where I want it. So that's how you can kind of resort those columns. And now I'm going to do my scorecard. So you'll notice right now I only see 2 scorecards. So if you remember when we were doing the review results, I went to my tasks and I turned a couple of them off. Well, if I'm not seeing them here, it's because I've turned them off. And so before you can run the report on them and be able to pull data, they won't show here until you've actually turned them back on by marking that show on review reports again, just selecting it. So I'm going to go ahead and select the score sheet one. And then when I select score sheet, there's all the scores. So more than likely, if I'm doing a score sheet, I'm going to do a select all, and I am going to move them all over to the right. So now I have everything I want as part of my score process here. And so the next step is I'm going to hit save and next. And then I'm going to go to the filter screen. Now at this stage, I can go ahead and filter if I wish. And if I'm running a score report and I have multiple review tasks, then more than likely I will want to create a condition based on the task I want to see. Because if I don't, it's going to start returning results for all of the reviews. But if I just want to filter that specific task, then I can come here, I can hit add a condition. And of course, if I didn't have scoring results, maybe I wanted to add a condition, maybe I wanted to create a report of all the male applicants, and I have that gender question, I can actually, create a condition to run it on that. But on this specific instance, this is a score report, so I do want to make sure and filter the scorecard I want to see. I don't want to see all of the information, I just want to see just this one scorecard. So I'm going to go ahead and select scorecard information. The section name is scorecard information. Then the next field is going to say task name. And then you're going to see here filter. And then I want it to say contains. And then this is where I can pick the name of that review task. So you'll notice here it's giving me the field for scorecard information. It's giving me the actual field for that task. And then I can run the filter on that. So this is, I want this, let's see, score sheet here is the task I want, I think. I think that's the one that we had the reviewer on. And then here, if I hit duplicate, what that would do is create a duplicate of this line. So maybe I want to take, I have a question and I want to get multiple values, then I can use this duplicate to do that. I'm going to go ahead and remove that though, because I don't want that. I just want the task that says score sheet. What this is going to do then is it's going to return the results for just that one task for the score. Okay, that'll be for the score sheet task. And so then the next step, I'm now done. I'm just going to hit finish. And then once I'm finished, I come here and now I'm going to see that report that I just created. Now I do have it visible to me, so no one else is going to be able to see that. But the next step, before you ever view a report, you always want to click the Update Reporting Database. And then that'll update with the date information. And then once you've hit the Update Reporting Database, you can come over here and view your report. And so you'll see right now, even though there was multiple reviewers assigned to that task, the report's only going to return the one that's actually reviewed. And when you're looking at score reports, when you have the applicant, you have maybe one applicant, but that applicant's been given 5 different reviewers, there's going to be 5 different lines for that applicant. There's going to be 1 per reviewer. So it'd be applicant 1, reviewer 1, applicant 1, reviewer 2, applicant 1, reviewer 3, and so on and so on. And then of course over here we see how they scored on every single one of those questions. So if maybe you wanted to look at maybe bias or anything like that, then you can always come here. You have that report. You can see how every reviewer reviewed. And if you wanted to, you could export this to Excel. And that's something that I do like to do because you can see you're moving back and forth, and when you get a really long list of applicants, you're going to be moving up and down. And so I like to export it to Excel just so that I can adjust the sizes of those specific columns. I can do wrapping and so forth in Excel. And then of course, once you dump it to Excel, you also can run formulas on all of these items as well. And then of course you're going to get that total score per reviewer, and then the average score is of course the average of the total for every reviewer divided by the number of assignments. So that's why this is 6, because I believe there were 4 assignments on this applicant. Okay, so now let me just go out. So to go out, you hit this select a different report. And let's say I want to do another scoring task. I want to do the exact same report. I can do so. I can go in here and hit copy. And it's going to create a copy with the date. So here's that copy. And now to make a change, and this is how you would edit any report, but just know anytime you edit, it's a permanent edit. You can't undo it. So I always like to make a copy and then do my editing in that copy. So it's created an exact copy, but added the date. And now all I need to do is go here to edit. And I can keep everything the same if I wish, or I can make changes here. And this one, maybe I might change it to another task. I'm just going to put new task so I know the difference. And we're going to hit save and exit. And then here's where you're going to want to make some adjustments, because if I'm switching tasks, then of course I don't want, because right now I have all the questions for this score sheet. So one thing I want to do is I want to make sure and remove the questions from this score sheet. And so you would have to know what those were so that you could get them all removed. And this is especially important if you've created copies of the same score sheet. Say you've got multiple scholarships, they're all using the same score sheet, but you need to see scores based on that individual scholarship. So you've got 3 score sheets and they're exactly the same. The questions are going to be exactly the same. This is when you need to use caution, because you're going to be looking at these names and you're not going to know which is which. So this is where, when you're creating those scorecards, if you're cloning, then you might want to maybe go in on that column name so that you can differentiate if they're exactly the same, not the XML name, because you might want to be able to use that push functionality, but you might go in the column name and maybe add an identifying factor so that you can differentiate one scorecard from the other. Okay, so here I've got my scores, and I'm just going to remove them. I'm going to hit this. I'm going to move them back over here. And now I'm going to pick my next scorecard. And I only got 1 score in that one. I'm going to move it over. Now I've got that one. Hit save and next. And then I need to make a change here, because right now I've got score sheet I'm filtering. So I want to change the filter to the different score sheet. And then I would hit finish. And then I would hit my update reporting database. And then the date would adjust, and then I can come over here and hit view. Now if I hit view on this one, I don't believe there were any reviews. No, there weren't. So if there weren't, then there, of course, at this stage, there's not going to be any return on the data, because there is no data at this time until the reviewers start scoring on this. So that's pretty much how you do ad hoc reports. And for now, that is the end of this session. So then, of course, the next session that would be in line with this one would be the awarding aspect. So be sure and review that one as well, so that you can kind of see some more reports that show scores of the reviewers and other ways that you can get information to be able to see how the results were returned. And so those 2 score reports are, you've got the Manage Awards multiple funds. So this is if you have a one-to-many, so 1 application with multiple scholarships tied to it. And then the Manage Awards 1 fund, which is when you have 1 application with 1 fund tied to it. And this is what the majority of you grant users, you'll be doing that, as using that as well. And of course, in the grant site, the ad hoc reports, you're going to be able to see organization names and program names and all that as well. That's the only difference. But so this is what's going to be covered in the next training, is this multiple manage awards and how you award your applicants. So please be sure to attend that training and review that. And I hope we were able to show you how to get your results, and this was informational for you as well. So we thank you for your time, and you have a very good day. Thank you.